Most people who read this story never stop to ask why. Why this miracle? Why this day? Why these jars? John made every single choice deliberately. And when you see what he was doing, you will not read this story the same way again. The wedding at Cana. A wedding runs out of wine. Jesus turns water into wine. But here's the question nobody asks. Why was this the first miracle at all? Out of everything Jesus could have done, healing, raising the dead, casting out demons, why does his ministry begin at a party with a wine problem in a small village almost no one has ever heard of? At first glance, it feels almost too ordinary, too small for the Son of God. But when you slow down and actually examine the details, you realize this moment is not random. It is intentional, it is theological, it is deeply connected to the entire story of redemption. And if you miss what is happening here, you might miss how grace actually works. Stay with me, because by the end of this, you will not read this story the same way again. Number one, and this is where it starts, is the setting itself. John does not open this story casually. He opens it with a timestamp. Notice what the passage actually says. John 2:1. On the third day, there was a wedding at Cana in Galilee, the third day. John tells us this with intention, and you have to understand, John is a writer who does nothing accidentally. Every word in this gospel is placed with surgical precision. So when he says the third day, you are not meant to simply move past it. You are meant to pause here and ask, the third day of what? Of resurrection, of creation. The phrase the third day echoes across the entire Bible. It is the day God caused dry land to appear in Genesis 1. It is the day Abraham arrived at Mount Moriah to offer his son. It is the day Jonah emerged from the deep. And most importantly, it is the day Jesus rose from the dead. John is planting a resurrection signal at the very beginning of Jesus' public ministry. This is not coincidental. The first miracle does not just happen to fall on the third day. It is announced on the third day because everything Jesus does is oriented toward that final third day. The wedding at Cana is already carrying the weight of the cross and the empty tomb before a single jar has been filled. And that is just the beginning, because the next detail is even more precise. The second detail is the stone jars themselves. Most people read past them. You have probably heard this story 100 times and never stopped to ask why John tells us exactly what those jars are made of and exactly what they are used for. Look at what the text says. John 2:6. Now there were 6 stone water jars there for the Jewish rites of purification, each holding 20 or 30 gallons. 6 stone jars, set apart for Jewish rites of purification. These are not decorative. These are not wine vessels. These are vessels of the law, specifically the ceremonial washing rituals required under the Mosaic covenant. Every practicing Jewish household would recognize these jars immediately. They represented obligation. They represented the endless cycle of cleansing, of trying to make yourself acceptable before God through ritual observance. And there are 6 of them. In biblical numerology, 6 is the number of man, of human striving, human effort, human incompleteness. 7 is the number of divine completion. 6 jars means something is missing, something is waiting to be fulfilled. And here's where it gets deeper. Jesus does not bring new jars. He fills the old ones. He does not discard the vessels of the law. He transforms them. He takes what the law could only partially accomplish, and he fills it to overflowing with something new. The original Greek word used here for filling is not partial. It is filled to the brim. Complete. Nothing left wanting. Stay with me, because what he fills them with is the theological heart of this entire passage. Now, number 3. The water becomes wine. But do not miss the order of what happens and what does not happen. There is no incantation. There is no ceremony. There is no public announcement. Jesus simply tells the servants to fill the jars with water and then to draw some out and take it to the master of the feast. And somewhere in that ordinary act of obedience, the transformation happens. The text does not record the moment of the miracle. It only records the result. John 2:9. When the master of the feast tasted the water now become wine and did not know where it came from, though the servants who had drawn the water knew, the master of the feast called the bridegroom. Notice what the passage actually says. The master of the feast did not know where the wine came from, but the servants knew. This is not a throwaway detail. This is a picture of how grace operates. The people at the center of the celebration, the ones who thought they understood what was happening, had no idea the old had become new. The servants, the ones who simply obeyed, the ones who did the humble work of filling and drawing and carrying, they knew. They witnessed the transformation. And this mirrors exactly how the gospel works. Grace does not announce itself with fanfare to the wise and the powerful. It reveals itself to those willing to do the simple thing they are told to do, trusting that the one who gave the instruction knows what he is doing. This is not random. This is a portrait of faith, and the next detail connects it all to something much larger. The fourth detail is the wine itself, specifically what the master of the feast says about it. He does not just compliment the wine. He says something strange, something that, if you know your Old Testament, should stop you cold. John 2:10. Everyone serves the good wine first, and when people have drunk freely, then the poor wine. But you have kept the good wine until now. You have kept the good wine until now. On the surface, this is a compliment to the bridegroom about hospitality, but in context it is far more than that. The prophets of the Old Testament consistently used wine as a symbol of messianic abundance, of the age to come, of the covenant renewed, of God's salvation poured out without measure. Isaiah 25 describes the coming kingdom as a feast of rich food and well-aged wine. Joel 3 says, "The mountains shall drip with sweet wine when God restores his people." And here, at the beginning of Jesus' ministry, a man at a wedding unknowingly declares a theological truth he does not even understand. The best has been held back, preserved, kept for this moment. The law was good. The old covenant was real and holy. But what Jesus brings is what all of it was pointing toward. Every sacrifice, every washing, every Passover lamb, every drop of water poured into those 6 stone jars, all of it was preparation. The good wine has been kept until now, until him. Now, this is where the passage stops being background information and starts becoming personal. This next detail is the one most commentaries gloss over, and it is the one you need to see most. The fifth detail is the most overlooked word in this entire passage. After the miracle, after the master of the feast marvels, John steps back and tells us why he included this story at all, and the word he uses changes everything. John 2:11. This, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his glory, and his disciples believed in him. The word is signs, not miracle, not wonder, not act of power, sign. In John's gospel, the Greek word is semeion, a sign, a pointer, something that directs your attention not to itself, but to something beyond itself. John is telling you explicitly, do not stop at the wine. The wine is not the point. The wine is the sign. It is pointing somewhere. It is pointing to glory. And John uses that word, manifested his glory, because in the Old Testament, the glory of God is the visible presence of God himself. When Moses asked to see God's glory in Exodus 33, he was asking to see God. And now John is saying, at a small wedding in Galilee, when 6 stone jars were filled with water and drawn out as wine, the disciples caught a glimpse of the same glory that filled the tabernacle. Not because the miracle was spectacular, because the miracle was a sign that the one standing among them was not just a teacher or a prophet. He was the fulfillment of everything the law and the prophets had ever promised. And here is what all of this reveals. Every single detail in this story, the third day, the stone jars, the silent moment of transformation, the master's unwitting declaration, the word sign, is pointing in the same direction. This is not coincidence. This is divine design. John constructed this passage the way an architect constructs a building, with a purpose behind every choice, a load-bearing meaning in every detail. The wedding at Cana is not a warm-up act. It is the opening declaration of what the entire Gospel of John will spend 21 chapters proving. He did not come merely to solve a wine shortage at a wedding. He came to transform everything the law could not complete. He came to take the vessels of human striving and fill them with something no ritual could ever produce. He came to open a new covenant, not written in stone, not poured out in washings, but given freely, abundantly, to anyone willing to draw from the source and trust what they cannot yet see. If this helped you see Scripture in a deeper way, like this video and comment, Jesus transforms everything below. Share this with someone who needs to understand the gospel more clearly. And subscribe to Bible Invincible, because every verse has meaning and we are here to help you see it. God bless you. Nothing in Scripture is accidental.